composite in After Effects using Supercomp. Alright, let's get right into it. Okay, so here we are in After Effects, and you might think that yes, why do I need Supercomp? Cool plugin to create composites. Well, Supercomp will come in handy when you composite a lot of things that's require blending in, such as background, lighting, fire, fog, all those hard to blend in elements. Supercomp will make it really easy. So here we have this three elements, and it's the clip, the fire, and the spaceship. And we're gonna blend them in really quick. First thing we're gonna do is the fire. And for this specific fire effect, it depends on where you started at. See how it goes out of the frame here? Well, when it's blended with the composite, you'll see like a line. So if that's what you want to use, then go for it. I'm going to use this since it's most of it in the middle, and we'll fix that part later on. I'm gonna remove this in BCC Studio. And same for the spaceship. I'm gonna bring back some of that foreground. Okay, so once we remove that, now let's see where we're gonna place this. Let's turn this layer off for now. Okay, in the spaceship, we're gonna have it here. Like as if we're looking on the top. Let's go ahead and make two of them. Okay, so just have two spaceships. They're coming in. So the thing is, when we place the spaceships and you play it, they move with the clip. And I want them to stay in place up here. So when the camera goes down, they disappear in frame. All right, so for that, we need to track the background. We're gonna go ahead and pick this layer, track motion. And so you need to check for a reference point throughout the clip that doesn't go out of frame or nothing gets on its way. Since I already did this, I know this dot, it's visible throughout the video, so I'm gonna use that as a reference frame. So I'm going to use that as a reference frame, and I'm going to track it forward. I'm just going to track the position and make sure you're tracking the right layer. So when you track, you should see this stay in place. It shouldn't go and move around all crazy. If it does that, that means it's not a good reference point, and your tracking, it's not going to be good. So you want this to stay in place like this. You don't want it moving up, down, up, down like that. So that'll give you a good tracking. Next thing we're going to do is create a null. Once we finish this, Okay, so once we finish tracking that, let's go ahead and create a null layer, new null object. This is pretty much going to be an invisible layer that we're going to use to transfer the tracking data into it. Because when we don't want to see a layer moving around when we place the other object. So this is going to be an invisible layer. Edit target, pick the null. Okay, and then apply X and Y. Okay. So all the tracking data is in this layer. Next, we're going to pick both of the spaceships and parent them with the null. So this means the null is the parent and these two layers are the kids. The kids will do everything the parent does. That's what's called parenting. So we'll play the layer out of the video again. Now you can see both of the spaceships stay in place. And that's what we want. Okay, since we're seeing that, and um, let's just go ahead and place one spaceship for now, and let's go ahead and cut it here. Since it goes out of frame in there, just to keep it simple. Okay, and we're gonna move this a little bit over here. Okay, so we already have this tracked, and now we're gonna have to place a fire. I want the fire to be in position on the ground here. But the same thing happens if we play the clip, the fire will move with the clip and it's not gonna stay in place. So it doesn't stay in place. I want the fire to stay here in place. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Okay, the fire's gonna be in place right about here. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing and parent it with the null. So if we replay this, you should see some of those flames on these first few frames. As it's going down, you'll see the full fire effect. And the reason you see some of these flames is because we started the clip and the clip begins with the flames going up very high and then they go low. So if you didn't want to see those flames up there, what you can do is just choose a different time this video will play. So, you can see here, there's like this sprite. And let's just go ahead and move this a little bit. Okay, I'm going Okay, so I don't want to see this sharp line, and we're gonna get rid of it. Other than that, everything looks okay. Okay, so right here, we're going to place a mask. So here, let's go to this layer, to the fire layer, pick your pen, and just draw a mask around, roughly around the edges of this. Okay, now go ahead and invert that mask. And now go ahead and feather it. Something like that. So you shouldn't see that sharp line. And then if you want, you can fix these, just shape it up a little different. If you need to fix the mask, you can just. Okay, so it looks okay. It doesn't look, you can't see that sharp line, it just looks feathered. And you don't need to track that mask because the mask is not going in front of the fire anymore, so it's not gonna get on the way of it. As you can see, it doesn't look sharp anymore. It looks further out, so that's good. Okay, now the next thing is the fire looks pretty solid. It doesn't look very transparent. I'm going to change the blending mode to screen. So now it looks a bit more transparent. Okay, so once we have everything in place how we want it, now this is when Supercomp comes in handy. So now if we wanted to blend all these elements together, we would have to pre-compose and just add a bunch of effects. And sometimes it's just, we're not even going to get the right results that we're looking for. So here we go. We're going to use Supercomp. So let me just walk you a little bit through Supercomp. So this is the panel it comes with. You can dock it if you want to. I like to use it like this so I can see both effects. And if you were to add another layer, it will appear here and you'll have a plus sign. And with the plus sign, you add it to the timeline here. And you can turn these layers off and you can still see Supercomp. The reason we're going to leave them on is so we could move them around if we need to. So here's Supercomp, and first thing we're going to do is, well, here's the layer, and if you were to shoot in different gamma settings, you can change those to fit the video, and it'll fix it right away. You can lower the opacity, add grain, change the layer type. So additive, it's pretty much like the fire. That is an additive layer. Since we changed it to screen mode, it becomes an additive. When they're additive layers, you get different type of to add. When they're normal layers, you get more effects to add as well. So we're going to start with the spaceship first. First thing I want to do to it is match the color to the background. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is match the background, the spaceship. color correction and just click match background. Right, instantly it will match it to the background. So what this does, it matches it to the background to the nearby pixels. So if we're here, it'll just match it to this side of the background, not these colors. Let's say we were to match it to this side of the background it's gonna give us different results. Okay, so if we were to move the spaceship, let's say here. Okay, in match background, it'll give us a different result. It matches to these colors. So if you were to have different spaceships around here and you need to match them to that particular area, that's how you can do that. Okay, and you can also decrease the effect. Also, each effect, if you hover around it, it will give you a stopwatch, meaning it's animatable, and like the Supercomp layer. And if you were to press on that time watch, let's say here, it'll pop up over here, and then you can create keyframes and animate each effect to get different results. Okay, so back to this. So we match the color, and then you can also change some of these parameters, and it's not going to affect any of the black and white. Okay, once we match the color, let's go ahead and we're going to add some light wrap. Light wrap will wrap the background light on this foreground object. So all the lights, all the colors from the outside will get wrapped around the spaceship. So let me show you how that works. Let me turn this off for now. It's very subtle, you can see it. Okay, very subtle effect. If you were to crank it up, you can see it more. It wraps that light around it. Okay, so, and if you just need to do the highlights, it'll just affect the highlights. Okay. So we're gonna do subtle light wrap, about 15-12%. Then, okay, so once we do the light wrap, let's go ahead and add some haze. Haze just adds some of this atmospheric surroundings, wraps it up around the spaceship. So it wraps up some of this atmospheric around, sort of like a little color match. So it matches the atmosphere more. Okay, and then you can also change some of these parameters, shadows, softness. And all these will add more effects, but we don't need all of them. Layered glow and optical glow are pretty similar, but pretty much optical glow will wrap around the object more than layered glow. Okay, so once we integrate the spaceship into the background, now we can move on to the fire effect. I can save it real quick. Okay, so I'm happy with the results for now. We're gonna keep this a bit simple and just color match it and wrap some light on it. Next, let's go to the fire effect. So once we're on the fire effect, let's go ahead and go to Supercomp. So for this, we're gonna add a core mat. First of all, let's just match it to the background a little bit. It's a very subtle effect. I don't know if you saw it. It doesn't look as orangey as it was before. So let me fix this mask real quick around here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we color matched the fire a little bit. Change the highlights a bit. Now here we have, let's go ahead and add core mat. So what core mat will do is it technically adds density to the fire. So let's see, we have a frame here where you see more of it, where it rises up a little bit more like here. So you see this black, it's the black highlights of the fire. So if you add more density, it'll make it more opaque. Instead of changing some of those blend modes, or if you want it to look more transparent, just lower it. Or you could animate it to give it a different type of effect. And you can soften and change some of these parameters. Okay, so that's the fire format. And then the best is the heat blur, which if you were to realistically look through fire, it would look distorted and things would look like if they were melting behind, if they were melting. And it's hard to do that with After Effects. So if you change some of these blend modes, you're still gonna, it's just gonna look like transparent. So if I were to look through this fire, all the heat would distort the background as you're seeing it through. But it's hard to create that in After Effects. So here we go with adding this heat blur. Let me show you a frame around here. Okay, so these letters behind this fire would be like distorted. So let's go ahead and just take this frame and use it. Okay, so we're gonna change the texture of it. This is how it's gonna distort and displace it. So you can see already it's getting distorted. And as you change the displacement and the texture, you'll get different results. So you see like these letters are all like melting versus if you were to not have the effect, you could read through. But in reality, you wouldn't be able to read some of this. So I like that. Now, just look at these. It looks like you can see there's heat in there. Look at this building here. Everything looks distorted. So as you change the displacement and the texture, you'll get different results. So now I kind of like this. It looks good. I'm just gonna soften it up a little bit. And as you change these parameters, you'll get all kinds of results. You can also animate it to give you different results as well. Okay, so I'm happy with this. I'm going to leave it as it is, and when I play it, you should be able to see the effect more realistic. Yeah, you won't be able to see this effect very noticeable because it's so fast to the eye, but if you were to pause it in that frame and look at it, you could tell. But just adding this subtle effect, even though it's a quick 8-second video, you will add more realism to it. But just looking at it like fast, you won't probably notice these distortions. Like right now, since it's going slow, you can see it. But when it plays at regular speed, you're not gonna notice it. But it's just so subtle that it adds that realism. So yeah, Supercomp is definitely really cool when it comes to integrating fire, smoke, mist. As of now, it's only 3 years old, so they still haven't added much effects, but hopefully they'll add more. I hope they add something to composite water to make it such as like the fire effect, glass, just those effects that are kind of hard to replicate in After Effects. But as of now, I mean, they had some pretty cool effects to blend all these elements together. So technically, anything that I put behind this fire, it will automatically like also distort, such as the letters. So if I add text behind this fire, it'll have the same effect as these letters. So that's how they all interact with each other. All these layers, they know how to they know what you wanted to do. So even if you forgot something that you think you need, that it will just automatically give you that effect without you even knowing it's supposed to. And so if you were to use this fire effect all the time, you could just save this layer and just save it, and you can use it next time preset and just add the fire preset effect we just did. So I really like Supercomp to process these to make them look realistic, and it's really fast and it's really fun at the same time. Well, for now, we're gonna leave this as it is. I'll see if I can do a part two to add more to this scene. But for now, this is all I have for now. I hope you like this type of tutorial and hope it was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. If you like this type of content, go ahead and subscribe.